Welcome to this edition of ARTV News. I'm Tony Beauvais. In this show, From the Other Side, the new additions to McClelland Sculpture Park, the NotFair exhibition, the value of art, and ARTV Magazine with Morgan Ray. Monash University of Performing Arts has announced a jam-packed program of events for 2024. Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza is a Melbourne premiere of an immersive dance theatre experience from The Farm, which is a contemporary dance theatre company located on the Gold Coast. Sundays in the Sound Gallery is 6 Sundays of modern chamber music in the acoustically superb David Lee Sound Gallery, a highlight being Australian artist, composer and percussionist Matthias Schackarnet. Wayfinder is an exhilarating explosion of heart set to new music by 3-time Grammy-nominated Australian band Hiatus Kaiyote, presented in association with Melbourne Fringe. Check out the website for details of these shows and many others. Get set to be swept away by the uproarious spectacle that is Ruthless the Musical, a rollicking journey into the world of 8-year-old Tina Denmark, a pint-sized powerhouse with dreams of stardom that knows no bounds. Irrepressible Dolly Diamond is stepping into the iconic role of Sylvia Cinquar. The stage is set for a whirlwind of campy entertainment that promises to leave audiences in stitches. Featuring a toe-tapping score by Marvin Laird and clever lyrics by Joel Paley. Critics are singing praises for this electrifying rendition, describing it as hilarious. It is beyond praise from New York Daily News and wild amusement from New York Post. Don't miss the chance to witness the mayhem, Ruthless the Musical. See the website for further details. From the Other Side features a range of historical and contemporary works alongside key new commissions that highlight horror's capacity to transgress and destabilise forms of power and subjugation. Centering on the fear of the monstrous feminine, the exhibition questions the often harmful representation of female monsters. The witch, the hag, the monstrous mother, the shapeshifter, the possessed woman, and how she has been reclaimed by female storytellers in recent years. The full series of Maria Kosick's 1999 Calendar Girls, featuring pulpy depictions of archetypal final girls. The women in these portraits are survivors of various unspoken horrors inflicted upon them, but stand defiant. Tracy Moffat's large-scale projection was first presented at the 2023 Sharjah Biennale. The film features an abandoned house lit with pulsing red lights in a desolate landscape, an indicative warning about the precarity of our times. The exhibition crosses the artificial parameters of horror in the everyday, as something that exists as part of society, but also from outside of it. From the Other Side presents the work of female, trans and non-binary artists who challenged traditional narratives and assumed boundaries of the body, gender, the self and the other. Here's a few things to keep an eye out for in 2024. Midsummer is Australia's premier queer arts and cultural organisation, bringing together a diverse mix of LGBTQIA+ artists, performers, communities and audiences. The festival runs in Melbourne over summer, January and February, and centres around hidden and mainstream queer culture involving local, interstate and international artists. St Kilda Festival will return with an epic weekend of programming featuring some of the best live music acts, family entertainment and a full-on weekend. Melbourne Fashion Festival is Australia's largest fashion event, celebrating design, arts and ideas for everyone to enjoy. The event mirrors and amplifies all that is unique, edgy and wonderfully eclectic about Melbourne and Victorian fashion, while also amplifying broader Australian fashion talent on a local and global stage to inspire consumers, support retail and connect with the industry. Experience the light, nature and wonder of Lightscape. The immersive Melbourne hit returns to transform the Botanic Gardens after dark with a reimagined trail and brand new installations. Surround yourself with the interactive submergence as well as the beloved Winter Cathedral and Laser Garden at Fern Gully. The National Photographic Portrait Prize is an annual event intending to promote the very best in contemporary photographic portraiture by both professional and aspiring Australian photographers. Photography is the dominant portrait medium of our time. The National Photographic Portrait Prize is an important aspect of the gallery's exhibition program, reflecting the distinctive vision of Australia's aspiring and professional portrait photographers and the unique nature of their subjects. The National Portrait Gallery is offering a prize of $30,000 for the most outstanding photographic portrait. Melbourne Fringe will be back in October. Melbourne has a vision of cultural democracy which empowers anyone to realise their right to creative expression. By championing discovery and experimentation, the event supports the development and presentation of artworks by, with and for the people of Melbourne. Big Sculpture will be back later this year in December, which is the outdoor sculpture exhibition and competition to look out for. The event is held every 2 years and has several awards, including a People's Choice Award. It was originally launched a few years ago by the Victorian Arts Minister of the day. Details will be announced shortly. Some other websites to look out for are the NGV, the Loom, the Mariner Group, the Alex Theatre, Lyndon New Art and ACCA. A unique mixed media sculpture exhibition combining real-world artefacts with characterful, ingenious Lego civilisations. Set in a future long after humanity's reign, Relics tells the story of a world where Lego minifigures have risen from the debris to craft intricate civilisations in discarded human artefacts, each one inspired by the object they are in. The brainchild of Jackson Harvey and Alex Towler, 2020 winners of Channel 9's Lego Masters.
We're Jackson and Alex. We are the creators of Relics.
A marauding band of inventors have reverse-engineered a grandfather clock to build a time machine. Nestled inside a vintage refrigerator, a cryogenics facility preserves its subjects from the ravages of an overheated climate. In a retro arcade, airlocks and elevators connect a series of gaming machines to form a futuristic spaceport. These are just a few of the 15 detail-packed worlds in Relics, A New World Rises, which is a playful and nostalgic journey of discovery that combines the old and the new to present stories of humanity that will appeal to all ages. This first-of-its-kind interactive and inspirational exhibition is not to be missed. "10-metre-high Frankie" was recently relocated. Also known as Reflective Lullaby and Chrome Gnome, is one of 2 high-profile and much-loved public sculptures that have been moved to McClelland Sculpture Park Gallery at Langwarrin as part of the ongoing Southern Way Sculpture Commission. Reflective Lullaby is a stainless steel sculpture by Gregor Krieger, and the other enchanting sculpture is Love Flower by artist John Mead. The ongoing program of iconic artworks has established the Mornington Peninsula as an internationally significant hub for public art and contemporary sculpture. Both Reflective Lullaby and Love Flower have developed a cult following over the years amongst visitors and locals in Mornington. Old friends of the works will now be able to catch up with the Reflective Lullaby and Love Flower at McClelland Sculpture Park Gallery. Southern Way generously donates funding for the sculptures, and after 4 years on public display, the commissions become part of McClelland's permanent collection. The series will result in 14 commissions over a 25-year period to 2037. The Southern Way McClelland commissions are doing a massive job in driving popular appreciation of public art. McClelland Sculpture Park Gallery is a great destination for the holidays. NotFair was founded in 2010 by artists Sam Leach and Tony Lloyd as a satellite event to the Melbourne Art Fair to showcase independent artists who haven't been discovered by the commercial art world. Writer Ashley Crawford joined the team to help spread the word. NotFair is where you go to see art that's bold, experimental and eyebrow-raising. Expect the unexpected, a collection of works that wouldn't be caught dead in a stuffy conventional gallery. Found materials, Gothic motifs, spirituality, technology and life and death characterise some of the works on display. This being one of the largest gallery spaces creates an atmosphere of excitement and happiness. One of the largest installations on view is by Dominic Kavanagh, who has created a brick platform scrapyard complete with its own water circulation system. Cole Tyler has conjured up ceramic stonewares that are so ethereal they make clouds jealous. Mike Singe is crafting birds that make you swear you can hear them tweeting. Katie Brecken's aluminium paintings are like landscapes from a parallel universe where colour decided to take a vacation. Monotone yet dynamic, they're testament to a philosophy that's quieter than a library on a Sunday afternoon. And if you're up for a game of hide and seek, check out Lucas Balustrade 2023, an artwork cleverly disguised as a handrail. Now let's shuffle through the installations by George Goodnow, Barry William Hale and Jonathan McBurney. These art sorcerers are turning the venue into unexpected realms. Think bathrooms transformed into artistic retreats, secret teenage hideouts, and attics that throb with mystery. It's like Harry Potter, but with more paint and fewer owls. NotFair is the carnival where the underdogs take centre stage, and you're invited to the greatest show on canvas. The word art originates from the Latin meaning for skill or craft, and the Indo-European meaning to arrange. Art was most likely created as an outlet of expression. It enabled us to use our individual perception to interpret it, whilst it still communicated a message, be it spiritual, philosophical, religious or political. The earliest art was most likely from indigenous cultures such as the Aboriginals, who depicted their culture and spirit dreamings through cave drawings and painting. Art later derived from ancient civilizations such as Africa, China, pre-Columbia, Egypt, Greece, India, Mesopotamia, Oceania and Rome. Ancients saw their gods as their main source of artistic devotion. It was expected of them to depict them as superhumans, portrayed with their special powers. Ancient cultures like Greece concentrated more on animals before moving on to capture the human form. By the time of the Middle Ages, Gothic and Byzantine art was influenced by religious beliefs. During the Romantic period, art was considered more of a mental exercise associated with science and religion. It has been developed into many styles such as Arabesque, Baroque, Bauhaus, Byzantine, Carolingian, Christian, Classicism, Gothic, Indigenous, Islamic, Naturalism, Realism, Rococo, Romanticism and Surrealism. When aesthetic beauty was created with a purpose of particular function, such art became known as more of a craft rather than just an art form. Early pottery and wicker basket weaving is a great example of such crafts being established. Art has also allowed us to discover each other's cultures and beliefs, from the different languages we all speak to the cultural wardrobes we all wear. Art is simply a huge part of our lives. Without it, we would not have any architecture, carving, ceramics, commercial art, crafts, dance, design, drama, drawing, engraving, fashion, film, fine art and graphic art, language, literature, lithography, music, opera, painting, performing arts, photography, poetry, sculpture, theatre, visual arts and writing. Art allows us to think as independently as we like whilst remaining open to a variety of interpretations. We can look up to the skies and interpret the stars and clouds above as art. Even a sunset allows us to be enriched by Mother Nature's daily ability to offer us escapism. Art provides a truly universal platform for the unique actions of just one artist to effectively enrich the lives of so many. What an ultimate gift to appreciate in this modern day world.
Ash, welcome to the show.
Hi Morgan, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So with duality, it's now fall. Now, it didn't fall, right? But what exactly has happened to your exhibition?
I think with institutions you often get like a 3-month exhibition duration, and for myself when I was creating these works in late 2020, I thought about creating 2 bodies of work and at the halfway point of the show changing over the exhibition entirely. So I made 2 contrasting bodies of work, the first being aerial, which is called aerial because it's a distant light look at an aerial kind of landscape made of textures including perlite and polymers and mica flakes. Now with the contrasting body of work, I used vermiculite and glass beads mixed with polymers, and in an autumnal colour shift. It just so happens that the changeover of the exhibition is the changeover of the seasons of autumn, and that's kind of in a nutshell, I guess, the reasoning and the changeover of the exhibition.
And it's a vast difference from what we originally saw. What was the reason for this besides the seasonal change? You had started with this body of work first, correct?
Yes, I created work which is quite textured using vermiculite and paint to build up the texture underneath the surface. So I created those works, put them aside, they were quite dark, they looked almost like bitumen, and then I worked on the aerial series. And then when I came back to these works, I knew I wanted to incorporate more texture in a different way than I'd previously worked. And I guess the idea for the glass beads came from a trip to New York in 2018. I went and saw an exhibition at the Whitney by Mary Corse, and she used a lot of reflective beads in her often translucent pearlescent white works, and they were quite amazing, the colour shift just in with those minimal pearlescent whites. And together with also seeing an exhibition by Jack Whitten at the Met Brewer, I was very interested in bringing texture back into my work at some point. So with the pandemic and the lockdowns in Melbourne through 2020, my Linden exhibition was pushed back, a few other exhibitions were pushed back, and I used that opportunity to, I guess, shift my art practice in a different way. Not to say I wouldn't be working like I had been in the past, which is a very soft gravity drip process of lots of water and paint, creating quite in-depth fall-based kind of works. However, I wanted to create a new direction, I guess, and that's what this body of work is.
And some would say this is quite risky, to take a whole new direction from what you've traditionally done as an artist. What are some of the, how does this even funded?
Sure, I mean, it's a low fee, I guess, with the institution, and for myself, it's supported by the people that help me, and my manager, David Hager. He's offered a lot more time on this show because he's passionate about my practice. My people that supply my art materials, be it the art stretchers or the pigments with Chapman and Bailey and Langridge, they have given everything to me at cost, whereas because they know that it's great to be able to support artists shifting and changing the way that they work and experimenting. And for myself, I've still got a steady income through a lot of my outdoor public works and selling my well-known gravity drip works. So primarily, I guess, I'm funding the change of direction in my practice through my existing practice that I've built to this point.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of advice would you give to artists that are wanting to get out into the professional world of being an artist? What do you suggest for them?
Well, I mean, there's so many different things to be hyper aware of in this time. I guess more than anything, it's not being afraid to put your work out there. I've always documented my work very well, and a lot of that comes down to investing in other people to document my work for me. So I guess I would recommend very early documenting everything you do very well and getting other people to document the process of what you do. You understand a lot more about what you're making and what you're putting out there into the world as well. Every single artwork I've photographed properly as an archive. So I guess it's a simple thing to kind of, it's one aspect of the business of being an artist, but it's very important to archive your work because for me, I'm thinking long term about catalogues, catalogue raisons of every work I make, books, and also in the moment, I'm always putting interesting images out there for my audience.
Now, I love when you talk about documentation and you brought some examples of even the boots that you've worn.
Sure.
Do you do this for every work that you do, like save the boots?
No. Well, actually, I think that the boots, that was the first time I was working with boots in the studio. You can see in the image at the end of the canvases there's a tray which collects a lot of the water that I spray on my works. And so when I'm getting in behind the works and working from behind, that trough is filled with water, so I had the boots on for that. And then after that I started working with these glass beads pouring them into buckets and mixing the water, paint and beads into buckets, thickening it up and then just flicking it onto the canvas. And this is a way that I hadn't worked before. And the more I kind of did it, the more I got comfortable with it, and the smaller little droplets would come out and I'd flick them down the length of the canvas. And ultimately it ended up all over my boots as well, and it's kind of nice to keep them like that. Nice dark black boots, their kind of colour really pops. So, I might not use them again, they're kind of too good now.
No, they look like a work of art themselves. And it's so lovely seeing the pieces here. The light is reflecting off the glass particles. And you spoke about this being almost an improvisational style of work, correct?
For sure. I mean, most of the painting that I do is improvised. However, 90% of preparation and selecting colours, it's all quite thought out. It's still quite improvised in terms of the way that I would mix certain tints of colour. It's all done on the go. But yeah, I guess that's improvised in a way too. I mean, there's nothing too over thought out about the way that I work. I kind of work with one layer of paint and one colour that leads to the next, and more than anything, it's the composition that is improvised, and I feel like one mark leads to the next, which then leads to the next, and then slowly you've got to work out when you want to abandon the work or kind of feel like it's sort of finished, I guess.
Now, have you ever had one of those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened?
In terms of going too
like it
far?
Scared you a bit? Or like, if a friend came over and something happened to a piece?
Oh, like in terms of like the art making process and taking it too far, I've always like done that, and you learn from that. You learn from, I guess, taking the work into a place that's not necessarily the best, or not necessarily better than where it was, a few layers before that. And if you keep painting, it might not get to where it was. So you do, I often talk about with friends or other fellow artists about mourning the loss of previous paintings in previous layers. And that happens, and so often you've got to be quite kind of content with where a painting might be, even if you think it might be able to be going in a better direction. I think like sometimes you're like, that's fine, that's good where it is, I'll leave that in there. But yeah, I think it's something that kind of happens more on a bigger scale for me when I'm working on large scale extinguisher paintings, and there is deadlines. You've got to get paintings done within a day, and there's multiple layers involved. A lot of water I use in terms of with the paint, and actually while the painting is moving a lot with the water, like I would love to be able to kind of arrest the painting at a certain point, but it just keeps on moving and creating and rests in a certain way. In the studio, not on a vertical wall, I can often put a painting on a deeper angle after I've had it vertical, like I'm doing here. That's not what I'm actually working on there, but I'm just sort of wetting the surface in that image to put pigment on. But I guess with the process in the studio, I can lift at different angles and then bring down to a certain angle when I'm happy with where the painting is, and then that will kind of dry as you see it. Whereas with walls, things look great in the moment, and then they might just kind of keep drawing down and becoming more sort of, I guess, gravity drip based.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with us.
If you'd like to contact us and let us know about any live event coming up in the inner Melbourne region next month, just shoot us an email at info@artv.com.au. We'll see you next time.